Hello, James.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone joining live. My name is Alex. I am currently joining live from our New York headquarters and happy to join James Blance on our solutions engineering team, sales engineering team from Identiverse. How is it going over there, James?
Good. Day 3. Everybody's got the, second day of convention face on. So good and exciting, fun stuff.
That is fantastic. Well, we are very excited to have you today post an announcement at Identiverse about our new partnership with Crowdstrike. I'm excited to have James demoing the work that we've been doing with Crowdstrike. So thank you, James. I'll let you take it away.
All right. Yeah, and those of you that have been here, you've probably seen our joint presentations with Crowdstrike that we've done live. I just wanted to dig a little further into the HYPR side of the integration and talk a bit about how we're doing that. So if we're take a look at how HYPR operates normally. HYPR is a phishing-resistant, multi-factor, passwordless authentication into your computer that then allows you to SSO into your applications using that same workstation login session. So most people that know HYPR know this much about HYPR Authenticate. And the way we've been able to integrate Crowdstrike and other sources and leveraging the existing investments that customers have is using HYPR Adapt, and that's our risk policy engine. So using HYPR Adapt, we're able to, on the machine itself, so you have CrowdStrike Falcon installed and you have HYPR Workforce Access, we're able to talk to the CrowdStrike Falcon agent on the machine and get the identifier for that machine from CrowdStrike. And then we're able to consume that and adapt in the HYPR service so that we can then call to CrowdStrike and check that identifier to see what the risk profile is. Or in CrowdStrike language, this is zero trust assessment. So we're going to look at that. And then CrowdStrike is going to tell us, hey, everything is okay. This user has, or this machine has a low risk score. And then we're going to allow authentication. So everything's good in that flow. If we look at another example, and I'll step through some live demos of this here in a moment. Let's look at a scenario where the CrowdStrike zero trust assessment comes back suspicious. And then we can ask the user, hey, something is kind of fishy about this. Can you do some additional verification for us? So we're going to tell the user, hey, can you show some ID? We're going to run you through our IDV solution, HYPR Affirm, and we can do ID verification. We can just step them up to another authentication method and make these dynamic decisions based on what that risk score is from the zero trust assessment. So in this case, the user is going to present to us their passport or their driver's license or any other credential that's accepted, maybe their employee badge, or we step them up to something else. And then we're going to allow them onto the application. And then the next case is when something is not right. We get a high risk score, malware is detected on the machine. You know, the user hasn't done anything wrong at this point, but CrowdStrike has seen that there's a keylogger on here. There's something that we're not going to let them out to their cloud resource. And then perhaps what we're going to do is lock everything out until we can get the issue resolved. So we're going to block the web authentication. We're going to lock out the machine, and then the user can go through some steps to remediate that, talk to their IT folks, get the CrowdStrike issue resolved, and then we can let them through. The next case is using the CrowdStrike ID score, and this is where things get more unique to HYPR and CrowdStrike for the integration, where we can not only check the status of the machine, but we can also check the status of the user. So if the machine has a low risk score, but perhaps the user coming from this machine is a bad actor, then we can take action on that as well. So we're looking at 2 scores from CrowdStrike. We're looking at the zero trust assessment, and we're looking at the ID protection assessment score. Now, this user could be coming from that machine. They could be coming from the cloud on a private workstation, another workstation that's not theirs, and then we could go through that. So we'll take a look real quick at an example of the zero trust assessment. We'll run through a quick demo video here. All right, so in this case, the user is going to log into their machine with HYPR as normal. See if I can hit play. All right, Alex, you want to hit play on that one? Sorry, folks, a little
cannot
technical
play.
difficulty.
But if you want to share your screen, I can.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen and we can run through it that way.
Let's do it.
Give me 1 second. All right.
Ready to go? Let's do this.
We'll just back up playing. All right, so we'll run through the zero trust assessment. Basically, the user's going to, let me turn off that. The user's going to log into their machine with HYPR as normal. We're going to hit the little blue button in the app, and we're going to get in. Here, we're going to look at the risk score, and CrowdStrike is going to be a 24 if you look at the overall assessment here. So on a normal day, that's a good score. That's fairly reasonable. If we continue to look in HYPR, we're going to see that we've got our score set to 20, which is going to allow this. Anything over 25 is going to be acceptable. So the user is going to log in. Going to log in with HYPR. So we hit the button, we get our certificate authentication. Now we're going to try and log into Okta with that score of 24. And then in HYPR Adapt, it'll show that the score is at 20. Here we are. And if anything happens, we'll do only desktop SSO. But as long as it's over that 20 score, we're good to go. The user can select whatever they want as an authenticator. All right, so we're going to log in for the first attempt. And then you'll see that the user gets an option. They can use a passkey or the HYPR mobile app. It's up to them. In this case, I'm going to use a passkey and just use my Google Touch passkey. Or, nope, doing QR code scan. So QR code scan, able to get in. There we go. Now I'm going to sign out. And then I'm going to change the risk score to make that 24 trigger HYPR Adapt. So now we're going to say anything with a workstation risk score of 25 or lower is going to have to do desktop SSO. You can't do the QR code scan or passkey. Desktop SSO is just using your existing workstation session to create an OpenID Connect, and that way we can verify you are coming from this workstation. You've signed in previously with HYPR, and we have very high confidence that you are who you say you are. So now the user is going to sign in, and you'll notice this time there's no option. It's just going to kick off desktop SSO and force the user to sign in that way, which in a normal day, that's the most preferred method, but you can see the difference in the authentication experience. So for this next video, we're going to look at the ID score. And this is where we're going to see the user has a score of 6.1, which the reason is there's a shared credential or something that this user has that another account has. So it could link the two. Very low probability, but we're going to use that to trigger a step up event. So we can see we have our score set at 7. The user score is a 6.1. So anything under 7, they're fine. We're going to let them use whatever they want to authenticate. Anything over a 7, they would have to use QR code. And you'll see under the authenticators here, we could also do HYPR affirm, where we do the full ID verification if something went wrong. So scan your driver's license, scan your passport, whatever that may be. So here we see we're just going to do QR code scan as an example if something happens. The user's going to log in, and you'll notice there's a choice that I can do a passkey or HYPR mobile app. In this case, I'm going to use my passkey, and it's just my Touch ID on my Mac with my Google credential that's linked to HYPR. So that's all fine, and that'll let me in. And then what we're going to do is sign out. We're going to adjust that risk score in HYPR Adapt, just like we did for the Zero Trust Assessment. Make it a 6, so that 6.1 will trigger. If we look at that again, we're at 6.1, let's make that a 6. Let's save that, and we've got it set for QR code scan. So now if we try to log into Okta again, it's going to trigger us to only do QR code scan. That's the only option we're going to have. And this is a very simplistic example of this. We can make these dynamic ranges to where 1 through 5 get a step-up authentication, 5 through 7 get a have to use a passkey, 7 through 10 have to go through full ID verification with HYPR affirm. There's many ways we can customize these policies. We can also put both the Zero Trust Assessment and ID protection score into one policy and make decisions based on if one fails, do this. If both fail, do this. If they're not on a computer that has Crowdstrike installed, that's okay. Let's just check their ID score and maybe we take that into consideration. So that is the beginning here of our Crowdstrike and HYPR integration. And let's take a look and see if there's any questions.
Yes. Thank you so much, James, for taking the time to spend some time on live stream with everyone not at Identiverse. I know that the people there will want to stop by booth number 2607 to say hi to James in person and experience this demo in person and maybe ask some questions there.
All right. Hit me up on LinkedIn, anybody. If you have any questions, stop by the booth. I'll be here all day.
Great. Thank you, James. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Bye.